Hi everyone, welcome back to Life After Neverland. My name is Corinne, and today we usually cover our Bible study, our chosen Bible study, but I would like to hit the record scratch on my Bible study, pause for a minute, and explain to you a couple things as to why I'm not going to cover the chosen anything at all related anymore. I'm completely done. Each one of us is on our own journey with the Lord, maybe our own journey with the chosen itself, or even just in general, our own personal journey. If you want to join in with me and have some spiritual growth because you like what I have to say and you think what I have to say is helpful to you and it really lifts you up and brings you closer to the Lord, then I would just love it if you would stick around. And even if you are still a fan of The Chosen and you understand the fact that maybe I'm not interested in that anymore and we can still grow and learn from each other, I would be so grateful. No judgment at all, okay? This is literally just my own personal feelings and my own personal convictions. As you know, if you follow The Chosen and you know everything that's been happening lately, Dallas and crew had their final words on this whole flag issue. I didn't think it was helpful at all, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, before I move forward, The Chosen has responded to my prior video where my husband and I were discussing our first response to Dallas's first response. And that right there, their response to me was, well, not helpful. It didn't come from a loving place. And quite honestly, I felt very gaslighted. And a lot of people throw gaslighting around. And so I'm going to give you the definition of gaslighting. But before I do that, one of the things that they said, and I'm going to go ahead and put what they said at the very tail end of my video so you can read it for yourself. One of the things that Dallas has been saying a lot, and he said it in his response last night, is that we're putting words in his mouth, or we're reading his mind, or we're misquoting him. Well, the problem is a lot of people don't understand what Dallas is really saying. And a lot of the things that we're asking, questions that we're asking, they're not really getting answered. And I will explain more. But when my husband says something along the lines of, like I said, you'll see at the end of the video, or maybe you guys already watched it and you know what we're talking about, okay? But when my husband says, my takeaway is, and then he goes on to say what Dallas said, and then respond to that, his takeaway from that, or when I say I'm hurt, these are things that we take on for ourselves. We say that at first. I feel, I'm hurt, my takeaway. I don't understand why that is now misquoting Dallas. Okay, we literally put it on ourselves first before we said what we said. And then what The Chosen could do, if they wanted to, they don't have to, or Dallas could do, is just respond to that and say, you misunderstood me. What I really meant was, solved. Problem is solved. The thing that's making me upset is very much seems to be villainizing other Christians that don't agree with what Dallas says or are confused about what Dallas is saying and some of the actions that are being done. Seriously. Let's look at the definition of gaslighting, okay? So that people know exactly what gaslighting is. And on a side note, I've been gaslighted a lot in my life. And I don't need to watch a show where the person, the creator, is doing that to fans. I don't. It's hard for me to separate it. So gaslighting. Psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, that causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, perception of reality, or memories, and typically leads to confusion, loss of confidence and self-esteem, uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability, and a dependency on the perpetrator. Yes, perpetrator seems like a harsh word, but this is the definition. So if you see some similarities in some of the things that I'm going to say to you, that is my point, okay? Now, Classic gaslighting technique. Telling victims that others are crazy, lying, and that gaslighter is the only source for true information. It makes the victim question their reality. Like, as I go on, I just really want you to just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, we're also going to talk about pride and what that means in the Bible to a lot of us Christians, and why seeing that flag, in all honesty, is just very triggering to us. And I personally feel that that community is very radical in their agenda. And it's getting it's leading to the point where people are very much starting to get their rights taken away. And there are things that I'm seeing that actually, in all honesty, are just flat out scary. If you know anything about history and you listen to how our president talks, it's almost like they're trying to make it like these people in this community are being persecuted. So if people start believing that they are truly being persecuted, which I personally do not think that they are, I honestly don't. Do some of them get treated badly sometimes? Of course. We all get treated badly sometimes. Everyone. For all kinds of different reasons. But they're the focus. Why is that? To me, it feels like an agenda. And guess who's going to be in trouble for that? Guess who's going to be, they're going to come after next for that? Us. That's why this is a big deal. This is in the Bible. This is at the very end of the Bible. Christians are going to be persecuted for a new religion. Do you not see this new religion happening? People need to wake up. Anyways, I don't want to go off on that too much because I don't think that's what this should be about. But what I did want to say is that I do want to discuss how I felt about Dallas's, I'm assuming, final response. I watched it last night, and then I went slowly and re-watched it today. Very slowly. I took notes, I rewound and re-listened again with an open mind. And I want to make this extremely clear. I have no ill will towards Dallas. I don't want to gaslight him. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I just don't agree with what comes out of his mouth at all. Flat, plain, and simple. And that should be okay for Dallas, because he can say, you know what, because I saw it. I saw The Chosen saying this to people in the comments, a couple people, and they said it before. You don't like this, this, and this? Well, then maybe this show isn't for you. Which isn't all that different than what Giovanni was saying. They say sorry, but then they still parrot similar verbiage to their fans. It doesn't come from a place of compassion, and it doesn't come from a place of humility or any ownership of maybe some choices of words that you shouldn't have said. Now, I know that the actors apologized, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. I had to make some notes, so forgive me because I'm going to be looking down at my paper because there were a lot of things that I was thinking. So they start off their response with selling things. I personally feel like that's extremely distasteful. They could have done it at a different time, not during this particular response vlog that they did. There were a lot of things that I questioned. And Dallas actually brought up many, many quotes about how people are really feeling like they've been misled in regards to the finances with The Chosen. And so the very first thing that they do is start out trying to sell things. They're completely tone deaf about the fact that people are confused about this. So for this specific vlog, maybe that wasn't a really good idea. They don't understand why people are questioning these things. Let's address this first, explain some of these questions, as difficult as they might be for them to hear, but that's how they started. So right after they asked for money, Dallas talked about how his pastor had 3 tips for him, which we'll also talk about. And then he precisely went on to tell all the fans about how bad they are for the things that they've said and the things that they've done and how we basically didn't follow those 3 rules. But then Dallas didn't really follow those rules either. And we'll talk about that. Then after that, they go through this long and drawn out documentary over season 3. That did not need to happen. Take that out. Just address the questions. This is what makes me nuts. This is what makes me nuts. And this is why people get confused. It's too much. Take the selling out for this right now and take the documentary out and just address it. And I think it would have been really cool if they would have had the actors. You know, we live in a day and age of Zoom. Pull them up on Zoom. They had plenty of time to get everybody together, and if that didn't work, they should have made sure to have a time where they could all get together so they could all dress the fans in one room, in one setting. Because I personally haven't seen the part where the actors have apologized. I know that they did. I don't have any doubt that they did apologize. I don't have any doubts that they apologized, but I personally didn't see it. So it was in an outlet where, I mean, it could easily be missed if you had a busy day that day and you weren't, I don't sit on Twitter all day. I don't. I really don't. So this would have been the most perfect way to do it, is to have them all together like that and address all of these really, really difficult, hard questions. I would have had so much respect for them for doing so and really, really answering questions. For example, John Root. John Root was there. I saw him. And he was asking a couple questions. He didn't hardly say very much at all, but not addressed. Not addressed at all. That should have been the very first person that they talked to. How much respect would I, personally, I don't know about you, would have had for Dallas if he would have just, right there, nipped it right in the bud, right there, and talked to John Root? Why was he shying away from John Root? Seriously. So then after this long drawn out documentary where, you know, people like me who are just frustrated, I don't have the time to sit and watch all of this. I basically am waiting for you to fill me in on some of the things that I was really hoping that you would say, would answer, would clear up. But you're just gonna drag my personal time out even longer and wait for you to answer just a handful of questions that basically talk about funding. And while he was doing it, he was kind of laughing behind his breath and really talking quite condescending to these people. Now, were these questions, some of them harsh? Yeah, they were harsh. They were harsh. Dallas, people are upset. And people don't articulate themselves the same way. Just like you don't articulate yourself very well at all. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning when Dallas talks about his pastor and how his pastor said, you owe your opponent 3 kindnesses when we are in an argument and a dispute. So what I want you guys to do, if you haven't watched it or if you disagree with me, what I would on it, and that's fine. Like I said, I swear that's totally fine. Just all I ask is please respect my opinion. I respect yours, you respect mine. But I would love it if you are one of the curious individuals like myself to go back and listen to it and with a clear mind and just see if you think any differently. If you don't and you still think the same, totally fine. But this is how I saw it, and I watched it twice, okay? Number 1, do the work to understand your opponent's position. If we do speak, it's to ask, what exactly do you mean? So I'm going to read that again, and then you guys are more than welcome to tell me if you thought Dallas did that or not, and then let me know and give me an example of where he did that, okay? So we're talking about Dallas here because he's the one in question. He's the one in question. And his pastor told him about this, and that's what he was preaching to us, right? So do the work to understand your opponent's position. If we do speak, it's to ask, what exactly do you mean? Did Dallas do that? Did he ask us what we really mean? Did he try to really understand our position on things? I'm going to say no. No, I didn't see it. Sorry. Number 2, work to understand their position so well that we actually sympathize with it, even if we don't agree. What I saw is Dallas disagreeing with everything, and that's basically about it. Okay? And gaslighting everyone right and left. There is nothing wrong with disagreeing. Nothing wrong at all. Nothing wrong. Okay? But I got no sympathy out of that whatsoever. I didn't. And I might seem like I'm being crabby. That's because I am. I'm really disappointed. I really, yeah, I think that's obvious. Okay, but work to understand the position so well. There were hardly any questions that he was going through. He was literally sitting there reading people's comments like he was the victim and they were the villains. He doesn't see that. Number 3, disagree with them in light of those things. Now that one, I mean, I would say agree or disagree in light of those things. He definitely disagreed with us in light of those things. He got number 3 right, no doubt, okay? I felt like he was asking us to do that. He was asking us to do the 3 kindnesses, to give him the 3 kindnesses, but he wasn't going to give us the 3 kindnesses. He kept saying that we were unfair. Our comments were unfair. It's hurtful. I would use that word. But maybe he didn't want to use that word because that might show that a weakness on his part. But I do think that there were some comments that were harsh. They were harsh, but that's reality, unfortunately. That is reality. I mean, I think my husband said already at one point, like, Dallas, you're making a show about Jesus. And there is I'm going to change the word, spiritual war going on right now, and people are upset. And you even said yourself that you're kind of being thrust into this culture war. Well, you threw yourself in it. You threw yourself in it by allowing that flag to go up, and you said yourself, Dallas, that you didn't see it. Okay, that's honest. We got some honesty. Maybe he did. It's either an excuse or it's honest. He didn't see it. So let's build upon that. You didn't see it. Now you've thrown yourself. We didn't throw you. You threw yourself in the culture war just by doing that, unless you're completely tone deaf about the culture war itself, which it does appear that way to me. Now he would say, well, Corinne, you're putting words in my mouth. No, Dallas, that's the way it comes across. Your job then is to, okay, I understand why you see that, because I get why that would be upsetting. I'm making a show about Jesus, and this is the exact opposite of what Jesus is about. I can totally see why my fans would be in an outrage over this. Let's go ahead and let's have an honest conversation about it. I didn't see it. And whatever he wants to say after that. You know what I mean? He also said his kryptonite is being understood. So that means that he really wants to be understood. It's important for him to be understood. But Dallas, I don't know what you're really saying, because you didn't clarify it to anybody other than telling us that we are unfair and we are wrong and that we should repent. You said that. But Dallas would say, no, he just said it to the very last person that made the comment. No, that's not how it comes across to us as fans, okay? It sounds like anyone who thinks like him, because there might be some things that people are saying that we might agree with, actually. And so we take that in to ourselves and say, okay, well, I mean, he must be talking about me too. But I also think to myself, we all want to be understood too. So then he should sympathize with the fact that we want to be understood as well. If that's his kryptonite, that's the biggest thing that's so important to him. That's the most important thing to him, that it literally knocks him almost dead, is not being understood. And yet, he's not trying to understand us. So he's got number 2 all wrong. He's not even sympathizing with that. And he should be able to, simply because that's one of the most important things to him. He was also saying that he would like for us to seek to understand before we make a comment. But we are. Like, we actually are, Dallas. I would imagine that's the whole point why you had this response Sunday evening at 8 o'clock. I kept thinking to myself, wow, I would be nervous all day if I was him. I would be sick to my stomach, because I have to make sure I have all my ducks in a row and I'm ready to answer some of these really tough questions, which he did not. He did not. He did tell us all how we're so bad because we made this comment, and he called people like their names out. This person said this comment, this person said that comment, this person said this comment, and he was laughing behind like his breath. He also said he slept like a baby. He didn't have any problems sleeping. Well, let me tell you something. I actually have been having a problem sleeping because this is what my channel is about, The Chosen. And I don't feel like doing it anymore. And I have to make a decision that, it just matches my convictions. I no longer want to support somebody who, in my personal opinion, is abusive to other people and can't see it. I know that sounds like a strong word. Like, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, guilty for saying that I felt like what Dallas was saying was abusive. I do. Do I think other people say things that are harsh and abusive? Those are his critics. Dallas, you have critics. That's what they're called. They're critics. Everyone has them. Especially when you're in the position that you're in. So then he said, first off, I'd like to acknowledge the fair questions. Now, those of you that were unfair, he was going to scold you, essentially. And then he said this. This is what, to me, it's immature. It's childish. A grown man, I guarantee Dallas and I are probably about the same age. This is immature. Okay? So he said, I don't want to say all of you are saying, remember what I said about gaslighting, crazy things about us. He's using the word crazy. You're saying crazy things about us. Okay? Lying about us or have dumb positions on this. He doesn't want to say that. However, there are some that I feel that way about. Did that need to be said? Did that seriously need to be said? He could have said that first sentence and I'd been like, okay, all right, maybe. But then he went back and said it anyway. That's what he's really essentially saying. Oh, but there's some of you, though, that I do think are crazy, liars, and the things that you're saying are basically dumb. But I'm going to smooth that over by just saying it's just a minority. It's just a minority. Oh, and it goes even further. Most of you have fair concerns. Most of you do. See, that all could be left out. Just address the questions. Don't judge the people that you think, well, you're good. These are the good people, and these are the bad people. Because then guess who's actually dividing Christians now? Who's participating in the division of Christians? No, it's us, because we are the critics of the show, and we said mean things that made Dallas feel bad. But he always wanted to make sure to school us on the fact that we need to understand first and disagree later. But guess what? You do it, but I'm not going to do it. He went on to talk about the size of the flag as if the size of the flag diminishes its importance or not. Okay? The fact that it was smaller takes away the whole thing. Like, it was only a tiny flag. Are you kidding me? Do you think I was born yesterday? Then he says they didn't intentionally put it in the trailer, and he doesn't want to get involved in these things. It was a tiny little flag, and if he would have known, this is the biggest thing, and if he would have known that the flag was in there, he said he doesn't understand if anything would have really changed anyways. That should tell you everything you need to know. And I was reading a comment that someone had made, which we had a lot of beautiful comments, by the way, you guys. I do want to say thank you. It really meant so much to me. So before I derail myself, that basically said Dallas talks so fast sometimes that you kind of like miss things. And that's why I went back today, because I agree. I went back to like go through it slowly, because I'm not going to let him sit there and tell me that I'm misquoting him. But when The Chosen responded to me, I didn't know what to say. And it's just been a constant feeling of like sickness in my stomach, because I really thought differently of The Chosen and the crew and the people behind the keyboards, okay? I really did. And regardless if money is transferred, to The Chosen or not, or time or anything like that, it's really disappointing when you believe in something and you believe in a project and then you see people behaving in such a way that's just, in all honesty, Dallas has said this about us, and I want to say this about them. It is destructive. And it's not helpful. And a lot of you guys were sticking up for me. I didn't even say anything at first. And I chose not to, and then my husband finally decided to respond. And we took a day or two before we actually did. And then I was sitting up at night and looking at my responses, and you guys were sticking up for me with The Chosen, and I just thought that was amazing. Like, that made my heart so happy. But it also told me that, like, Dallas really is tone deaf when it comes to this. Like, there are a lot of people that are upset. There are a lot of good people that are upset. A lot of good people that are confused. A lot of good people that want answers. A lot of good people that are hurt. Yeah, it could have been handled so different. Everything could have been handled so different. I feel like he was victimizing the crew and villainizing the fans. Now here's the other thing. So you're talking about the actors too. We talked about the behind the keyboards. The actors apologized, but yet at the same time, Dallas was excusing them for their behaviors, which then it just kind of like takes away from the fact that they apologized. It was almost as if he was making it like, well, they had every right to. They weren't. Let me tell you what he's saying. They're not talking to you, to our fans in general, he said. Not talking to those who have a disagreement about Pride Flag or a disagreement to not police cast and crew. Only to those who were specifically attacking the camera guy, calling for him to get fired. That's passive aggressive also. If you're going to go ahead and just name people out, well, just go ahead and name out those people. Because what he did do is he put up a thumbnail of this young man that I follow. His name's Matt from Lions of Fire Ministries. And him and I have been kind of talking back and forth. And it's very unfortunate because he comes from a really good place. I would encourage you to go over to his channel and see what he does. He is a light, not a darkness at all. He's not clickbaity. And I thought it was really interesting that Dallas decided to choose his thumbnail to call out and make an example of, because that's exactly what he did, was make an example of him. That to me is another thing that's extremely distasteful when I've seen way worse out there. Way worse. Ugh. But anyways, getting back to what we were saying, so about the actors. The problem that I have is that the actors spewed out hate, major hate, at those that were saying something hateful. And according to Dallas, okay, I don't know what those people said. I didn't read it, whatever. But Dallas was excusing how the actors behaved, basically saying that those bad fans, the ones that said the mean things, basically, I'm not, now he's gonna say I'm putting words in his mouth, I'm not, but what I get from this, because I'm gonna read it to you again, what he said, I'm not talking to you, to our fans in general, not talking to those who have a disagreement about Pride Flag or disagreement to not police cast and crew, only to those who were specifically attacking the camera guy, calling for him to be fired. And so my thought is, so that makes it okay to match hate with hate. You're taking away from the fact that your own actors just apologized. Again, calling out Matt's thumbnail when there's so many other ones that are very similar or possibly even worse was, again, like I said, distasteful. But then also too, Dallas can't control what we do. He can't control what we say. That's critics, like I said before. And it would have been, I just felt Dallas could have had a lot more integrity if he would have actually been more humble, answered people's questions with actual sincerity and compassion. And there are ways that you can talk to people without talking down to them and making them feel crazy, dumb, or like a liar, or embarrassing them. You can take a different path. Your actors can take a different path. And that's one of the things that I had a problem with, that I didn't say in my last video, is that when he says that he's a libertarian, he says that he's proud of being a libertarian. So the only way that I can make a comparison is if I had children and I chose to raise my kids where they are free. You know, they get to make their own choices. They get to be their own person. Well, what comes with that is there's no real rules. There's no real guidelines. And that can sometimes backfire in your face, and it's going to make it hard for you to rein them back in when they're so used to being kind of just, I go this way, I do this, and you always told me it was okay to do that. And so Dallas is going to say that to you, which he has said, is that we've always been this way. Okay, Dallas, because you don't set rules on your set, it's kind of ruining your brand, okay? Your actors are going willy-nilly kamikaze, and because you love them, you're making excuses for them, but it's offending your fans. And you don't like that your fans are upset, but you're still gonna let them run around. You don't have rules and you don't have guidelines. Now, I'm just speaking for myself personally. That would be a big fat no. If there is controversy, we're gonna sit around and we're gonna say, look, this happened, we made a mistake, okay? This is a hot topic, one in which I don't want to get involved in. We need to not add gasoline to this fire. We need to distinguish it immediately. And so no one is going to comment. I'm going to be the only one that's going to comment. Everyone, as upset as you are, you're going to keep it to yourself. We're going to talk about it together as a family. We can all get mad about it. We can all work through this together. I am the leader. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do what's right. Okay? That's it. That's it. He was also saying over and over and over again. He literally was reiterating himself over and over again, which I'm reiterating myself over and over again because that's what Dallas was doing, was reiterating himself over and over again instead of answering the questions. So he was saying that these comments are going to be up there forever. Well, yeah, they probably will, Dallas, but you can solve this. You can solve this. You're not solving it. That's on you. That's on you, Dallas. One of the things that I find questionable is that he wants to make the fans a villain. The unfair fans are villains, okay? Then the fair fans are going to go after the unfair fans. That's not a family. That's not what families do if it's a healthy family, okay? And I honestly feel like that's a double standard because they're saying rude things, but he's making excuses for it and explaining them away instead of acknowledging that that was wrong. In one sentence, he's saying it's wrong, and then the next sentence, he's explaining why it was okay. And then he was continually reading, like, I guess somebody had made a negative comment, and then after that, there was another negative comment, and after that, there was another negative comment, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And he thought that that was just completely outrageous. He couldn't understand that. There should be a mixture of like negative and positive, but not now. Now it's all negative. How can everybody come after Dallas like that? How can everybody come after Dallas like that instead of thinking, why is this happening? Oh, let's go back to the question of kindness, the owing your opponent the 3 kindnesses. We're gonna go back to that, okay? 1, do the work to understand their position. If we do speak, it's to ask, what exactly do you mean? Never happened. Work to understand their position so well we can actually sympathize. And then 3, disagree with them in light of all those things. I wonder if he messed that up because that doesn't make any sense. So just go ahead and just disagree with them. I think agree or disagree depending on what information you have from the above, number 1 and number 2. Double standards. It reminds me of rules for thee, but not for me. Let's read that. A phrase used to denote that a person is trying to make others follow rules without having to follow them themselves. Dallas was basically also saying that it's not his fault for the toxicity or even the actors. And he was basically saying that he wants us to say to him, according to what he was saying, and I'm assuming is more fair to our frustrations, is something along the lines of, I don't think you should allow this, I disagree with this, or please explain. The problem is, Dallas, people are saying that. They're just not saying it the way you want them to, but that's exactly what they're saying, and that's why we're saying to you, I'm saying to you, you are tone deaf. They're saying that. All those comments that you were saying, that's what they're saying. If you read between the lines. And number 2, Work to understand their position. He also said no one would have batted an eye. No one would have batted an eye if we would have just said it like this. And then so I feel like you're saying that we deserved to be called a homophobe or any of the other things that were being said. And at the very, very end of this one massively exhausting response, seriously, was there was a guy named Roy at the very end that completely triggered Dallas. And I think, it did come across a little harsh. It was really funny though, because Dallas was trying to correct his grammar, which is condescending. Basically, he was using Roy as an example and just saying like he used Matt, his thumbnail, as an example, and of how we should dialogue with people. Like he's telling us how we should dialogue. And I just told you that this is at the end, what I just said prior about how he thinks we should word our questions to him. He's telling us that we need to learn how to dialogue, okay? It's not cool that we're drawing conclusions about people's motives. And it's toxic, destructive, and not Christian, claiming to stand for the truth. We're making public comments about people that he works with that really offended him. So just remember, he's telling you what's on his heart. It really, really, really offended him that we said something about this cameraman's, oh my gosh. Okay, and then he was saying it's wrong, you need to watch yourself and repent, especially when we are bearing false witness. We as Christians are called to something better, are contributing to toxicity, and it's embarrassing. That's what he said. That's what he had to say. I don't think Dallas does a good job at dialoguing with people at all. I don't. And so he's trying to tell us that we need to learn how to dialogue, but I don't think he knows how to dialogue. And then he lets his cast members go ahead and just spew out whatever they want to say. And then even though they've done the right thing and apologized, he goes ahead and continues to make excuses for them anyways. I honestly would not want to work on that set at all, because I'd be like, now look what's happening here. Like, I'm tied into all of this now. When he's saying drawing conclusions about people's motives, there might be some people that are doing that. There might be some people that are doing that. And that's why, Dallas, you can address this, dialogue this much differently. There probably are people that don't understand your motives. There's a lot of things that people have questions about. And I know that that hurts, Dallas. I know that that hurts, and that's unfortunate. No one wants you to be hurt. No one wants to be hurt either. No one wants to walk away from this. I don't. But after all of this scolding, it's exhausting how it made me feel after all of this. Like, it doesn't feel right. It's not okay to gaslight people. It does feel dysfunctional. It does. You're making things dysfunctional, Dallas, and then you're telling us that we're being dysfunctional. Like, you see what I'm like, I want to pull my hair out with this. He says it's toxic and destructive. Yes, Dallas, it is toxic and destructive. It's very toxic and destructive. Yes, it is. Can you acknowledge that literally some of the choices that you're making are also toxic and destructive towards people who have supported you, and that hurts them and that bothers them? Regardless of how you feel about how they use their words, they feel hurt by that. You could make it all better so easily by literally being sympathetic and compassionate. Take the high road. And I don't want to take advice from someone that I personally feel isn't acting like a Christian, telling me that I'm not acting like a Christian, or anyone else for that matter. This wonderful young man, Matt, which you showed his thumbnail. I'm only assuming you're talking about him. And I actually watch all of his vlogs, Dallas, and I think he's a wonderful Christian man. And I think that he is trying to stand for the truth, the one truth, the number one truth, Jesus Christ and his word. And someone did make comments, people did make comments about the flag, not the cameraman, the flag, and what that flag represents. Tone deaf, tone deaf, tone deaf, tone deaf. But your actors also made some serious comments about those people. And you, Dallas, from what I'm getting from what you said, comes across like you're explaining it away. I'm not okay with that. at all. It's contributing to this culture war against the people you're supposed to be supporting, Christians, because I thought that's what you were all about. And this culture war is leading towards Christian being persecuted. Tone deaf. People are upset by that. And I would like for you to tell me, Dallas, what does that flag represent? I want you to say it. Say it with your words. Use your words, Dallas. Sympathize with me right now. What does that flag represent? I'm not even talking about the cameraman. I'm talking about the flag. What does it represent? What branches come out of that representation that really build fruit? Explain it to me. Now also, explain it to me what Jesus would think about that. I'm not saying about Jesus not wanting to save souls or spend time with people that maybe others might not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the flag and what it represents to Jesus. You have to know that. You don't want to address it. I understand why you don't want to address it. That would be really brave if you did. You're tap dancing around it. You're sending a fog out to everyone else, villainizing the fans that don't agree with your perspective on the world, and not trying to understand what the people that you're mocking, the people that you're scuffing at the fact that they don't have proper, language, or I guess in Dallas' eyes, etiquette. You're not taking the time to understand the people you're looking down on, or it appears as if you're looking down on them. I mean, you were scoffing behind your breath what they feel. Why are they saying those things about you? How could they say such horrible things? Yeah, exactly. Why? There's something that is tone deaf. And lastly, he says, like I said, he said, watch yourself. That's so aggressive. And repent. And then he says, as Christians, we're called to do something better. Contributing to toxicity is embarrassing. Yes, Dallas, you're exactly right. And therefore, I'm not going to embarrass myself anymore by covering this show. And I'm not saying that this isn't amazing acting, amazing writing, and amazing directing. You have a beautiful gift. You do. You're very, 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 very talented. And I'm sure, other people are going to get a lot out of this chosen thing because maybe they didn't see this or they didn't go through this experience, and just really get to see your true colors. And I'm allowed to be honest, in my own vlog, I don't enjoy the Dallas that I was seeing. And I choose to not. I can't. I really love Jesus, you guys, and all I know is that inside my whole entire soul, nothing about this feels right. The way that this was handled is really not okay for me. And so what I wanted to say moving forward is I would like to talk about pride so that you can understand why I'm going to only speak for myself, am so passionate about this situation. But then what I would like to do, you guys, is I would like to move on to some other Bible studies that are really beautiful, and I'd love for you to join me. And this, the thing that I do get concerned about is that, people enjoy the drama. They love the drama and all that stuff. You'll notice that when I'm talking about The Chosen and this whole debacle, I have way more views than anything else. What I really want, because I know Dallas was saying like maybe clickbait so people could get more views. What I want, I do talk about this because that's what my channel is about. So please don't get that misinterpreted. This is exactly what my channel is about. And so I am telling you that what my channel is about is going to stay about Jesus. We're going to have wonderful, amazing Bible studies. I'd love for you guys to join me again on Monday nights at 7 p.m. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some options for you guys in my community portion, which a lot of you guys have been interacting with me in the community portion, and I really appreciate that. And I hope you guys will stick around because I would like to bring light into this world, and I want to continue with my spiritual growth. I don't really want I don't want toxicity. I don't want any toxicity in my life. And I want to support things that represent who I am as a person. And follow the same integrity and belief system that I get spiritual growth out of. And Dallas was mentioning the ministry thing, and it was still really confusing to me. I still didn't really fully understand that. I don't know how many times people can try to explain it away, but I don't know how you can literally make they were even talking about their devotional and the Bible studies and stuff, and then do other things on the other side that just contradict all of that. The only thing that I can try, like when he's saying about mind reading, like people are trying to read your mind, Dallas, because you're not clear at all. So I'm going to try to figure out what Dallas is saying. When he's saying it's not a ministry, and I'm putting a big question mark here, maybe what he's saying is on the production side of things, it is not a ministry. They don't pray. But what they put out to us is a ministry. So to me, it just almost is like who you are and how you run your business doesn't match the product that you're putting out. Because every business that I've ever worked for, and then every business that I've ever worked for, there's always been a code of conduct, always, that represent their mission statement. So Dallas, I respect the fact that you're a libertarian and you like everybody to go willy-nilly. But when you're writing a series about Jesus and that is a choice that you make, then you are setting yourself up for people to get upset, for people to get confused. And if you don't know how to articulate that, and you don't know how to sympathize, empathize, and really understand, like your pastor said, this is a great growing experience for Dallas even, is to show some compassion for those people. They want to understand. I want to understand. You're hurting people that I care about too. Oh, it's okay because that person said something mean so they deserved it. No. That person has a family. That person has feelings. That person has a heart. It's not just you, Dallas. It's not just your staff. This is a problem. You want to talk about toxicity? Why don't you start coming through things with love? Why don't you handle things with love? Why don't you handle things with compassion? That is another problem. You are writing about Jesus, but are you even learning about how Jesus treats other people and how he handles situations? That for me, that's like, it doesn't connect. It doesn't connect for me. There's a wonderful guy that I follow named Amir Tsufasi. I always say his last name weird. If any of you know who he is, he's such a wonderful, beautiful person. He writes the most amazing books. He has a book on Revelation, and he also has a workbook that goes with it, and that's one of the ones I would love to do. I've never seen Amir act distasteful. Never. Not one time. And he's got such passion and love for Jesus. And I just wish so much that I could have seen that from Dallas yesterday. And I just didn't see it. So let's talk about pride, and then we're going to finish things up. And I hope you guys will come and join me every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I would like for you to figure out our new route of Bible study. And I do want to apologize that I'm not finishing. I hope you guys will stay with me. I just can't. It's almost like trying to think of something that I don't like, steak, and just forcing myself to eat it over and over again. It doesn't bring me any fruit if the person behind it does the things that I've been seeing lately. It just brings me no fruit. And I can't give you what I want to give you when I don't feel that way about that person anymore. The person behind it is just, I don't have any respect for that person. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about pride. I'm going to read you this article here, okay? It says, How Pride Steals Your Joy. And I really hope that you guys will be blessed by this wisdom as we finish up today, okay? And I want you to know that this is kind of where my heart is, where I just want to grow. I want to be a better person. Here we go. I once heard it said that the source of most stress is pride. At first, I wasn't sure. I agreed. I mean, my frustrations and anxieties were seated in real issues. But when I looked closely at those issues, I saw pride peeking out from underneath. More often than not, I was frantic because I was worried about maintaining an image, whether in others' eyes or in my own. Or I was upset because I thought I deserved more respect than I was receiving. I pushed harder to be more perfect, more worthy of praise. The pervasive influence of pride has been pressing on my heart lately. Our need to seem or to feel uniquely successful, put together, informed, intelligent, organized, talented, attractive, health conscious, and creative has taken control. In our pursuit to keep up appearances, we're often actually made bitter, worn, and narcissistic. We put so much energy into working toward our own greatness and fulfillment that we forget to give attention to the things that actually carry weight. C.S. Lewis said, "Pride leads to every other vice. It is the complete anti-God state of mind." If our reason for doing something is how we look or how accomplished we feel, we need to reconsider. Who cares how good I look? Isn't Christ living in me? Then let my existence hum with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control, rather than with the glories of a standout schedule, home, face, intellect, pantry, wardrobe, or career. So this is a very good lesson for myself too. So many thoughts like these have been swirling around my mind the last couple of weeks, and when I opened up my commentary to the Bible study last night, I was immediately faced with this heading: Pride ruins everything. Selfishness is infinitely destructive. It's time to uproot it, to throw off its burden, so we can truly, abundantly live. What is pride in the Bible? When pride is talked about in the Bible, it's described as destructive. It's an attitude that inflates self and puts self-importance above God. Pride looks like, what does it look like, okay? Not seeking God in your struggle and trying to do it yourself. We've talked about this in our Bible study before. I think we were talking about Simon Peter actually. Thinking the blessings in your life are because of your own talents, worrying what others think of you all the time, totally guilty. And maybe Dallas is too, wanting praise from others, feeling threatened by those who are better than you at something, desiring attention from others frequently, constantly finding fault with other people. So I'm sure all of us can look at these and go, oh, whoa, I fall in that category. Oh, ooh, whoa, I fall in that category too. And I'm saying this because I'm not just saying this to point this out on Dallas. It's good for all of us to take a look at this, because I saw a couple here that I was like, I need to put myself in check on some of these. You know what I mean? Okay. This is demonstrated in Proverbs 11:2. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. In contrast, the virtue of humility is constantly valued by God in the Bible. Jesus made sure to demonstrate its worth by washing the disciples' feet and even humbling himself to the point of death on the cross. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to link this in my description box so you guys can go and read all the rest. I'm sure they'll be very fruitful for you. What causes pride? Basically, the cause of pride is a failure to realize God's sovereignty instead of seeing that God is in control and giving him the glory for all things. Pride seeks to place self above God. Pride fails to give credit to God, from whom all blessings flow. When we spend too much time thinking about ourselves, talking about ourselves, or maintaining a certain image, it leads to pride. Seeing yourself in an overly important way does not bring joy or peace. How do we get rid of pride? There are a few steps that you can take if you want to conquer pride in your life. And she says here, I often find myself face to face with this sin and need to battle against it constantly. Now, you don't have to answer this, but let's see if we can relate to some of these things. Humble yourself. That's number one. First, you must humble yourself according to James 4:10. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. Realize how much bigger God is than you. There are no ways you can ever comprehend his greatness. His will is supreme, and his power is infinite. Everything you have is because of him. Pray to God, praising his power and giving thanks for all he has blessed you with, realizing that all good things come from him. Number 2, ask for help. To battle the sin of pride, we need supernatural help. Ask God to help you as you try to eradicate pride and embrace humility. Ask that he will help you see the lies you are believing and focus on the truth. The next time you are tempted to think too highly of yourself, worry about what others think of you, or act in selfishness, remember your sole purpose. It is to bring glory to God, not yourself. Remember 1 Corinthians 10:31, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. And number 3, set your mind on the things above. If your mind is constantly focused on people pleasing, what others think, or how you can be more perfect to make yourself look better, your life will be miserable indeed. In contrast, true joy is found in glorifying God and pointing to him in all you do. Start by keeping the example of Christ in your mind often, meditating on the scriptures and thinking about the cross. There's no greater display of humility than Jesus himself. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. And being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on the cross. Number 4, realize whose approval really matters. At the end of the day, other people having a high opinion of you doesn't matter one bit. Why? Because as God's child, you are already approved. God himself is proud of you. What else matters? This for me is one of the biggest things that our children need to understand. And I think the rest of us need to understand. When we're already broken down and hurt, this is coming from me, when we're already broken down and hurt, we really fall into all of this. And it's not healthy. If you want to talk about toxicity, pride is toxic. Pride is dangerous. Pride is destructive. People need to understand, because as God's child, you are already approved. You don't need anybody else's approval. God himself is proud of you. What else matters? But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. 1 Peter 2:9. If more people understood that, we wouldn't have low self-esteem. We wouldn't need to seek the approval of anyone else. Why even the hairs on your head are all numbered. Fear not. You are of more value than my sparrows. Luke 12:7. Do you struggle with pride? It says here, what Bible verses about pride help you keep an attitude of humility instead of an attitude of pride? Now, I'm not going to ask you to answer that in the comment section like I have asked in the past, but in that journal that you have, I want you to answer those questions honestly, and I would love for you to just kind of go through some of the things that I went through and see if any of that you can relate to, okay? And just see if that's something that we can build upon and something that we can work on and sort of improve. I know that I've been extremely guilty of worrying about what others think. Extremely guilty of it. And we live in a society where that is just, like, it's just set up for that. Social media alone. And I do feel for Dallas because Do you see how he's so offended by his critics? He cares about what we think. But the problem is, I don't know for sure, but there's something blocking him from really just saying, okay, I did that. I understand how you feel about this, and I can see why it would upset you. Like, when you say this, though, it really cuts me to the core, and I wish you could say it differently, but because I see that you're passionate about it because you love Jesus, and you're confused about the fact that, I might have misled you, let me clear the air. Problem would be solved. I keep saying that, but I am again telling Dallas how to speak, and I need to respect the fact that Dallas has his own journey. And while Dallas is working on his journey, I'm going to step away and I'm going to focus on myself, and I'm going to do some other things that really help me in my growth. And right now, I don't feel like The Chosen is going to help me right now because of all of this and how it makes me feel. I'd rather give, if I am going to use a Bible study, I'd rather put those kudos out to someone else right now than to The Chosen. And I hope that you guys can respect that. And it would mean a lot to me. I could be like Jerry Maguire right now and just saying, you know what, who's with me? Who's coming with me? And then, be back on my own all over again. But I guess that's just the chance that I'm gonna have to take because of where my heart is right now. You guys, thank you again so much for following along with me. Make sure that you check the community section daily. I like to put positive quotes up there to uplift you throughout the day. And sometimes I'll ask, probing questions, to help you with your spiritual growth. And then I am going to post some different Bible studies so that we'll know where our direction is going to go this upcoming Monday. And I'm going to let you guys do the picking. In the meantime, everyone, I do want you to know how much I appreciate your support and your kind words. It's really, really helped me because I come from a place of good. I come from a place of love, and all of this is just very unfortunate. So, in the meantime, you guys, blessings, lots and lots of love to you, and stay tuned. I do put little shorts up to, again, to uplift you, encourage you, and bring some light into this very dark world. All right, everyone. This was a long one. Y'all have a blessed rest of your day. Thanks for watching, tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Ta-ta for now.